Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel once again, and welcome back to System Shock Radio. Hopefully OBS is working this time. I think I was able to troubleshoot it, and hopefully it should be working now. But in the meantime, as always, I got some topics for you guys. And of course, if this is your first episode of System Shock Radio, welcome. If not, welcome back. But if you are indeed new here, we talk about a variety of things, whether it be nerd stuff, pro wrestling, comic books, video games, aka nerd stuff. We do some inspirations. We do all kinds of stuff, and we have fun here on the channel. So, if you do go on to enjoy this video, and any of the other videos on my channel, if this is your first time checking out System Shock Radio, but you've seen some of the other videos on my channel, then a like, a comment, and subscribe. So you can join the Nigelverse. But in the meantime, without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is that some stuff is going down when it comes to Ubisoft and the game The Crew. So The Crew was, I should say, a racing game with online features. And the reason I say was because its servers were officially shut down on April 1st of this year, so earlier on this month, and that is nothing uncommon. That's nothing new. Game servers get shut down all the time, especially when it comes to like online games, kind of like The Crew, who slash like games that have offline modes but are mainly online. Sadly, that's one of those things that happens, and The Crew is no exception, and which is why a lot of people feel like a lot of games shouldn't be as online as they are, because their servers could get shut down at any moment. But that's kind of just the nature of things. But what people took issue with was apparently Ubisoft revoking people's licenses, their access to The Crew. So people noticed that they weren't able to launch The Crew, the game, from Ubisoft Connect, which, if I'm not mistaken, if my understanding is correctly, it's kind of like almost like Ubisoft's version of say like the Xbox Game Pass, or like the newer version of PlayStation Plus. So essentially, allowing you to play Ubisoft games, but people were noticing that the game couldn't be found in their libraries. I'll say this, as someone who I do get like physical copies of games from time to time. If I'm out and about and I see it and I want it right then and there, and I happen to be out and about, I'll buy it. But otherwise, I do prefer digital, mostly, due to convenience and stuff like that. Had where I can download it right from the PlayStation app or something like that, and then have it either on my PlayStation or like the Nintendo eShop, or imagine similar to like Xbox, if I eventually do get an Xbox. And honestly, I might. But nevertheless, that being said, though, I think this situation is probably the perfect argument for holding on to physical media and bringing back physical media when it comes to, well, anything really, but especially video games. So like video game discs and cartridges and stuff like that, because as you bought it, like if you bought the game, you should be able to own the game, whether the server shut down or not. It's like you still own the game. If it has an offline mode, you can play offline, but otherwise you should still own the game. But to have someone take it away from you, it's not really fair, and that's honestly not cool. Like for example, I'm gonna put it in perspective in a couple different ways. Here's my first example, and I know it's not the best example, but follow me with this one. Let's say you go to McDonald's and you order a Big Mac. You order the Big Mac, you pay for the Big Mac, and you're eating the Big Mac. But in the middle of you eating your Big Mac, McDonald's decides they're not gonna sell Big Macs anymore. They're discontinuing the Big Mac right in the middle of the day, right as you're eating your Big Mac. That probably would never happen, but realistically. But for the sake of for the sake of the example, let's say, hey, they discontinue the Big Mac, and because they discontinue the Big Mac, let's say you're halfway through eating your Big Mac, enjoying your food, enjoying your lunch, dinner, what have you, and all of a sudden a McDonald's employee just comes up and just snatches your Big Mac away from you and throws it in the trash because they're not selling Big Macs anymore. Like I said, not the best example, but that's almost kind of what's going on here. Like, when you buy something, you should own it. But another example I can give is what happened with Nintendo and Super Mario 3D All-Stars. And for those of you who are wondering, Nigel, what's that? So what Super Mario 3D All-Stars was that? Is that a new Mario game? Not really. So essentially, it was like a collection compilation type of game. So essentially 3 games in one, and that being Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy, and the soundtracks for all of them. But one of the things that people took umbrage with, besides some of the issues with the port over to Nintendo Switch, was that it was only for a limited release, meaning after a certain amount of time, the game was gone. And so if you didn't buy it when it was out, then you're essentially SOL unless you find someone to sell you a copy of a cartridge. But also that means even if you bought it digitally, if you delete it from your Nintendo Switch, if you decide you finish it, hey, you don't want to play it anymore, but you get the itch and you want to re-download it, you can't, because it's gone, and it's gone for good because they're not selling it anymore. Which is why, even though I am still working through it, I haven't even made it past Super Mario 64. I kind of suck, but nevertheless, despite that, that's why I'm not gonna delete Super Mario 3D All-Stars from my Switch, because I don't want to lose access to it. But it's really unfair, and it's not, and that's not surprising from Nintendo, but it's also not surprising from Ubisoft, with its own CEO, if I'm not mistaken, was the one who said that people should get used to not actually owning games that they buy. Like, that's a huge red flag. If you buy something, you should be able to own it. It's like, if you bought that Big Mac, you should own the Big Mac. Like, if you bought a DVD, a movie, whether digital or disc, you should be able to own it. Like, imagine you're watching a disc and they decide to stop selling it, so somebody just pops into your house and just takes your DVD and just takes all your DVDs away, hey, like all your movies and stuff, and just runs off with it because they're not selling those movies anymore, or I guess it more so be specific movies. But yeah, that's pretty bad, which is why a lot of people definitely are making the argument for like physical media over digital media. I think this is a solid example of it. Like I said, while I do tend to do things digitally, at least for my convenience, like this, I think is probably the perfect example I can think of when people talk about why they believe we should hold on to physical media and why we shouldn't phase it out. Even though that's kind of the direction we're headed, and really that's been the direction we've been headed for a while. And that's not just with video games. That's with just about everything, especially in wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. But but it is unfortunate though. But the next thing I want to talk about is speaking of video games, it looks like our boy Invincible is getting a video game. So there's a crowdfunder from Skybound Games to make an Invincible game. And hey man, I believe the goal is 5 million, if I'm not mistaken, and to give Invincible his own game. And I mean like a AAA game. I think they have like a mobile game, if I'm not mistaken, but like a AAA game. So that means like a console game on the level of like your Call of Duties or your Assassin's Creed, although I imagine much better. But I am surprised it took them this long to make an Invincible game. But also I wonder what it would look like. I imagine, if I had to take a guess, it'd probably be some type of fighter, perhaps, as maybe with some adventure thrown in. And it could be a 2D fighter, or similar to like your Street Fighters or your Mortal Kombats or your Marvel vs. Capcoms, or it could be in the realm of a 3D fighter, such as like your Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, the game that apparently not a whole lot of people liked, or like your My Hero One's Justice. where's the game gonna go from there? Like, hey, what direction will they go? I guess we'll find out when and potentially if this crowdfunder gets off the ground. And it wouldn't be like Invincible would be too wouldn't be a total fish out of water when it comes to games. Of course, Omni-Man being a guest character in Mortal Kombat 1. So let me know if you guys would be interested and excited for an Invincible video game. And it's good timing too, as Invincible just wrapped up season 2, is moving into season 3, and I haven't watched the show yet. Not out of like apathy or dislike or just haven't gotten around to it. It honestly, it takes me a while, and I've mentioned this before on the channel, it takes me a while to get to shows. Hell, I didn't watch My Hero Academia until like last year, but anyway, so yeah, but where will things go, we're gonna have to find out. But the next thing that we're gonna talk about is that apparently there's a new Bloodline on the horizon. So in the wake of the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns' absence after losing to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40, find out more about that in my WrestleMania 40 review. If you haven't already, go check that out. But in the wake of that, it would seem that Solo Sikoa has risen up as his role as tribal heir. He's recruited Tama Tonga. Jacob Fatu might be on his way. In fact, there's reports saying that he could be debuting for WWE within the next 2 weeks. So Solo organized his own bloodline and turned on his own brother Jimmy. Man, two Usos betraying each other within the span of a year. That's the insane thing about how But yeah, so Jimmy Uso has apparently been kicked out, exiled out of the Bloodline. So it seems the story is going to be perhaps Bloodline versus Bloodline in a true Bloodline civil war, that being Solo, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and The Rock going against Roman and the Usos, and potentially Sami Zayn. But yeah, I'm excited to see where this new Bloodline goes. And for those who are curious, you're like, Nigel, Tama Tonga, what's his relation to the Bloodline? I know some people were confused about it. So Tama Tonga is Tongan. He is the son of Haku, but as The Rock put it, Tongans are kind of like spiritual family to Samoans, and I believe they may also be, if I'm not mistaken, I think they may be related via blood ceremony, but I may be thinking of someone else. But yeah, so that's kind of Tama Tonga's relationship, and The Rock apparently referred to Haku as like Uncle Haku, so I guess very close in that regard, and that's how it is sometimes. But Solo, let me talk to you for a second and come here, get real close. Yeah, you come on, Solo, just get real close to the camera. Whether you're holding your phone or your laptop, just get real close. Let me talk to you, Solo. Buddy, I know it's great, you're stepping up as the tribal heir and everything like that, and it's great that you're taking over, leading your family in your cousin Roman's absence. But that being said, though, when Paul Heyman said losing has consequences, that means you too, right? You gotta get some wins under your belt, buddy. Like, hey, you're 1-37 now, and I think you just lost again on the house show circuit to LA Knight. Solo, buddy, you gotta get some wins under your belt, man. Come on, what are we doing here? You're supposed to be the tribal heir. You're supposed to be the next tribal chief. You didn't see Roman Reigns losing all the time. He lost like maybe 3, maybe 4 times in his entire run as the tribal chief and as Universal Champion. And come on, step your game up, man. Get some W's under your belt. You can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. You can do it. But nevertheless, that's the next thing I want to talk about, is that they're not the only family that's apparently rising up, because as it seems like we have a new Wyatt family on the horizon. So, Bo Dallas is as revealed by the Bray Wyatt documentary, which I still haven't checked out. Mainly because, again, not due to lack of interest, but it's not only just because it takes me a while to get to stuff, as I mentioned, but also because I don't think I'm emotionally ready to watch the documentary just yet. Trying to watch it without crying is it's gonna be tough. Like, I don't cry that often nowadays, but this one might get me. That and the Iron Claw. But yeah, so Bo Dallas it was revealed he was going to be Uncle Howdy, but it seems that they want to keep the storyline going. There was reports that the family, that being the family of Bray Wyatt slash Wyndham Rotunda, did want to keep the story going, and it seemed like they're teasing at it with the QR codes and everything like that. So who's going to be a part of this new Wyatt family? There's been a myriad of people discussed to be a part of it, whether it be Bo Dallas, whether it be Alexa Bliss, whether it be Eric Rowan, who may or may not be on his way back. He did have to cancel his indie dates due to new contractual obligations, meaning he may be on his way back. Braun Strowman, I'm sure, might be involved as well. Some people have even said Matt Hardy's officially now a free agent. He did make an appearance at TNA Rebellion, I believe it was, on Saturday, but it was either Rebellion or Hard to Kill, but either way, Matt Hardy may or may not be on his way back and being involved in that. Apparently, Jeff Steele is going to be up with AEW soon as well. Wow, so both the Hardys might be out of AEW, but with that, it is cool that they're going to keep the story going, and it's awesome them having the QR codes and stuff, essentially like really honoring the memory of Bray Wyatt, because that's exactly how Bray Wyatt would have did. In fact, that's exactly how Bray Wyatt did. When Bray Wyatt, leading up to his return in 2022, he had like the various codes and stuff, with like the White Rabbit and stuff like that. So like keeping that going, I think is really cool, and I can't wait to see where it goes. But the last thing that I want to talk about, while we're on the subject, is kind of a saying. Let's talk about family for a second. And as Dominic Toretto once put it, family is everything. But there's a certain saying. I'm not sure if I coined this exactly, but I do say it quite a bit, and I'm sure some people have said it kind of to this effect. But not all family is blood, and not all blood is family. So what exactly does that mean? When someone says, when I say like, not all family is blood, not all blood is family, what does that mean? So essentially in life, you're going to meet and run into a lot of people, and there's gonna be plenty of people that you meet and run into who, some are gonna be family, some are gonna be related to you by blood, but then you're gonna meet people that are gonna have such a profound, amazing impact on your life that they're gonna be considered like family. And when it comes to life, I've on one hand, you would always want your blood family to be in your corner, but sadly, that's not always the case. Hayes blood sadly isn't always the good water, and I'm not talking about anybody in particular within my life, but just experiences in my life. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to these things as well. But then again, like the people who you meet who aren't your blood family are still going to be in your corner rooting you on. You can come to them for anything, they'll come to you for everything. And, so you guys are going to be incredibly close, of course, which is why you consider them to be like family. You consider them to be so close to you, having such like a strong bond with you. There's going to be plenty of people like that. There's plenty of people in my life like that, and I'm sure you guys have that as well. Like biologically, I may have two brothers and a sister, but with all the people I've met and all the people I'm super close with, I have many brothers and sisters. I may biologically have a mother and father, one mother and one father, but through all the people I've met, I have plenty of mothers and fathers. Never take the people in your life for granted, whether they're related by blood or not. Whether there's a genealogical link, which I don't think is a word, but it's a word for the sake of what we're describing here, or whether you're bonded by blood or bonded by life. Hold your family close and cherish them and tell them how much you love them. That's your assignment for this week. Tell your family how much you love them and how much you appreciate them, whether they're your blood family or you're not blood family. But But yeah, family is everything, and it comes in all shapes and sizes. And it's not always blood. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes you're bonded by blood. Sometimes you're bonded through life, and sometimes you're bonded through both. But nevertheless, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you can see as soon as it drops, and let me know in the comments your thoughts on anything I talked about in this episode.